Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. I hope you guys are all doing very well. We are about to talk about the fifth home defeat on the spin at home for Liverpool after, 68 games they went without losing at home? This is unprecedented stuff. And an amazing game, a really interesting game, and a game where, look, you see that title, it's saying Klopp is lost. I think Klopp is a little bit lost here, and we'll talk about it. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad manager. It just means that he's got some really hard decisions to make, because that first half, I've not seen Liverpool cut up like that. Even like I put that out as a tweet, and people were going, what about Man City a couple of weeks ago? Man City a couple of weeks ago, Liverpool were in that game for 60 minutes and then got cut apart by real quality. This one, it was so easy for Chelsea, and credit needs to go to Chelsea. I thought they were fantastic, defended brilliantly. My man of the match is definitely a Chelsea player. I will reveal that at the end of the video. But let's start off with the lineups and let's get into that. I haven't done my first half reaction. I wish I had, but we'll talk about what we saw, and I'm going to focus on that first half in a big way, because I think the big thing for me is that the game state was obviously so different in the second half, and Chelsea concentrated on almost playing like some of those teams that Liverpool have struggled to break down over the last couple of weeks. And the thing that I'm really going to talk about is the space of Liverpool and how they it's so difficult for me to say this, and I'm not sure if it's right, and that's why I think Klopp will be lost as well. I'm a little bit lost. Does Klopp need to change his methods here? Does he need to look at this squad and look at this situation that Liverpool are in right now and go, this is a bit of a mess. We don't have the personnel to play the way I want to play right now. Let's play a different way. Let's get into all of that. So before I get into that, sorry, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can see it right there, sorry. Sub to Jim, get it done. We are now at, I can't believe it. We were, in the last stream I did, we hadn't even hit 80k. We're now at 82k, which is insane. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It makes a massive difference to me. It's just huge. It's absolutely huge. So please do it. It takes you 2 seconds, and it's just massive for me. So thank you very much if you have done. Make sure you hit the notification bell as well, and that way you will never miss a live stream when I do one of these after it. Let's get into it then. So here are the lineups. And I've gone through the stats already, and there's one stat I'm going to show you. But this game, to be honest, it wasn't totally about the stats. It was about Tuchel got it spot on. I mean, and it was an obvious thing to do, to look to expose the back line of Liverpool. But the way they did it, it's like he knew exactly what Klopp was going to do. He knew what he was going to do. And so this was your lineup for the games. Kabak came in, playing on the left-hand side. Fabinho coming back in as a centre-back in this game. Your normal midfield three now, pretty much, of Jones, Wijnaldum and Thiago. And those guys generally move about quite a bit in terms of when they're on the ball or without the ball. But Wijnaldum maybe sits a little bit deeper. And then your usual front three. For Chelsea, they made it very different. You had Werner. I haven't typed his name in. Let's do that. Werner. Oh, God. Typical me. Werner played up front on his own for the first time. We haven't seen that in a long time. Kante and Jorginho as those two midfielders. I know Kovacic has done really well with Jorginho recently. And then Ziyech and Mount just behind Werner. And their energy, in particular, Mount's energy was brilliant. And that's what it was about with Chelsea. They looked to use the ball quickly and looked to hit certain spaces really quickly as well. Christensen playing at that central centre-back because Thiago Silva's not back yet. And Reece James coming in, and instead of having Alonso and Cho, they went for Reece James and Chilwell to again have that speed, and for me to look to expose this area here. It was this area here that they were looking to expose throughout the game for me. Let's have a look now then. So what I'm going to show you now are the average positions from the first half, because when I saw it, I felt like it really highlighted a lot of stuff for me. So here are the average positions, and what Chelsea did brilliantly is they look to get the ball. That's the wrong one, isn't it? They look to get the ball into these areas here. They look to get the balls there all the time, playing on Fabinho. And this is something that I've got a lot of stick for. Now, Fabinho is a wonderful footballer, but he can be exposed to a little bit of pace. And with Werner, with the runs that he likes to make, and Mount and the energy that he can have on that left-hand side, just time and again. And I'm going to show you the let's show you the key passes now, because, and I'll come back to this. The key passes for Chelsea came from that pass through over the top to Werner, who scored that goal that was offside, only just though, wasn't it? And then a few times, and I think it might have even been the pass for God, I've gone blank. Mason Mount, of course. So key passes. Ben Chilwell and Azpilicueta. Ben Chilwell with a great pass, but Azpilicueta on that right-hand side, and we've seen this before with Azpilicueta. He's done that before when it was with Morata, actually, under Sarri. They were brilliant at doing that. And you got two key passes for him because they were looking for that pass into Timo Werner all the time. And what that did tactically was it made Fabinho and Kabak so nervous in what they were doing. They were so nervous in what they were doing. And I understand it. I get it. But what this also meant was that because Chelsea played with such... they played with so brilliantly, I can't get rid of this. Hang on. Let's get rid of it. Is that all of it? Yeah. I can't get rid of it. Where is it? That's really annoying. Because they were playing like that, you found yourself with Fabinho and Kabak here, and then a massive gap between the rest of the team. And also the other things. Look how much Chelsea have stretched the game here. Oh, that's how you get rid of him. Here we go. Look how much Chelsea stretched the game in this first half. You got Chilwell wide as he can be. James nice and wide. You got Werner stretching it. And you look at Liverpool in the opposite direction. You had two banks of four. Two banks for Chelsea. Kante and Jorginho, I thought, were fantastic in this game. But all of this, the sort of stretching of all of this play, came from this man here, came from Timo Werner, because of Timo Werner always looking to get in behind, always looking to get in these areas. These players, Fabinho and Kabak, it's such a problem for Liverpool. And I'm going to get onto Klopp in just a second. But the distance between them and their midfield is not what you're used to when it comes to Liverpool, especially in a game where they haven't had 69% of the possession. It's been quite an even match, right? So they were always on their bike. Look, I'm a player who's not got pace. When you haven't got pace and you've got to play centre back, the thing you're worried about is the ball in behind. So you're already on your bike. Whereas previously, you wouldn't have seen that with Liverpool. You would have seen these guys further. You would have seen them pushing up. You had a Salah up here. You would have had these guys pressing. You had Mane pressing like a Tasmanian devil. The whole midfield without him as well. Thiago's a problem because his pressing doesn't feel like it's good enough. You were on the front foot. And this is the biggest thing for me. And this is why I feel like Klopp's a little bit lost now, because they were playing with such a high line a lot of the time. It almost convinces you to play the tactic that is going to be the one that's going to hurt them the most. And the same thing happened in the second half. Not as much because Chelsea had something to defend. But constantly you had this high back line and all this space to hit. All this space to hit all the time. It's a massive problem. I mean, the obvious thing to do is to defend deeper. And I feel like that's what Klopp's got to find a way to do this. The problem that he has is that this is one of his biggest principles. This is what Klopp's about. It's about being on the front foot. It's about being assertive, being aggressive, not playing with fear. But at the moment, if he likes it or not, he's playing with a couple of things. Well, first of all, he's playing with fear. Second of all, if you watch that footage, that team is quiet. You haven't got Henderson in there. You haven't got Milner on the pitch apart from the last 20 minutes because he doesn't want to start him, and you haven't got Van Dijk. You're missing a lot of leaders there, and in particular a lot of voices, which would help. And those voices would help because when you're struggling and you've got players missing, you need those voices to help you get through it, and that's what Henderson did. And I'm surprised I'm saying this, but if you go back to the way that they've, that again. One thing that you saw with Henderson when he was playing midfield centre back was he played on the front foot, at it, and so that he stopped it at the source, so they weren't able to play that ball. But there was a big gap in that middle, and although Liverpool had some chances, look, Mane's missed a sitter, and again, second half, I think there's so much muscle memory in this team because this is still a great football club with a great squad. You just got a load of them that are injured right now, right? And And the problem for me is that you've these two centre backs, and we know that. But I think Klopp has to change the way that he's going to play. He has to do it, because you're just going to get caught out again and again and again and again in this area. And Tuchel did a job on him. It was the obvious job, but it was a brave call that he needed to make all the same. And as I say, I thought it was fantastic in how he used the space, used the width of the pitch, because you've got a team that wants to play high press front foot football, but doesn't have the personnel to do it, in my opinion. It doesn't work anymore. He has to change it. And if he continues with it, I mean, the thing that saves him is they're so good in possession, and a lot of teams just defend for their lives against Liverpool, that they will dominate most of the game. So maybe for the long-term aim of the team and the general principles and sticking to those values, he might stick with this. But this tactic, with the personnel that they've got there at the moment, is just going to continue to hurt them. And I think the other thing that you see in the second half of this game is a team in Chelsea who were able to deal with Liverpool on, their attacking side of it. You could see a couple of the changes I felt in the first half. I could understand that they were looking to try and get Robertson involved a little bit more, I felt Robertson was playing a bit narrower than he has done and looking to get involved, which allowed Mane to play almost as a front two a little bit more with Firmino. But second half, it kind of reverted back to type. And the other big talking points, I think, is the fact that the goal for me is absolutely terrible defending from Trent. And the reason I say that, and it has to be on Trent here for me, because when you're defending, he's got caught up between the understanding that he's a right back and the fact where is the ball and where are the defenders. When Mount gets the ball, if you watch that goal again, what you'll see is that Mount has the ball, Fabinho's got him here, and his position is okay. He probably should get closer to him, but he's worried about his own pace. So he thinks the safest thing to do here is just to keep him there. And if he goes down the line, I can live with that. The problem you had with Trent is that Trent was running back from inside him. And instead of staying here, letting Fabinho deal with it if it went down the line, and he actually looked to get the other side of him. And it was the wrong decision. At that moment in time, he needed to just stay alongside him, because Fabinho had a picture. And part of that picture was Trent coming back into that space. But instead, Trent went to about here, I think it was, and made Mount's mind up for him. He's able to get on the ball, and let's use the football. Got the ball. Goal. So Trent has to take some blame for that. The other thing that I would say, and again, this is just sort of, it's just in the root of Liverpool at the moment, is that who's telling him? Who's telling him? Like, Kabak is a kid. If you've got Henderson in there, I reckon Henderson talks to Trent and says, hold your position. He'll say something to it, or Henderson will go, stop the shot inside. That's a problem. So Trent, he has to take some credit or criticism, I guess, for that, for me. Last couple of things from me. Before I do it, if you are enjoying these streams, then please do hit the like button and consider subscribing. I know that title's probably angered some Liverpool fans. I get it. But I think you understand what I'm saying here, because Klopp is a genius. But he now needs to show real flexibility, a flexibility that Tuchel has shown. In this game, it feels like Klopp's been outcoached. And we know how good he is. So I think he now has to kind of look at the personnel that he's got, and he has to change it. And that line needs to drop, because the final thing for me is that it was so quiet, so quiet. And the pressing comes from that voice sometimes. The amount of games I've watched, and it's Henderson going, get at him, Sadio, get at him, all these players. You watch that. I think so. There's a super chat from Nick. Fantastic point. Great stuff, Nick. Thank you for sending this, bro. Liverpool are pressing 30% less compared to last year. The reason they're doing that, I think, is you've got a lot of players here who, if you look at them and you're watching it, and I did for a little bit, you've got Kabak, who's not established. He's a young, quiet player. Trent is a quiet player overall every time I'm looking at him. Alisson, look, a bit more from him. Fabinho, you're going to get a bit more of a voice from him. Wijnaldum is generally a quiet player. Jones is... he's a youngster. Thiago, same thing. Robertson's out at left back and does have a voice on him, but not too much. And then you've got a front three that I think generally are pretty quiet players. And that doesn't mean they're not leaders, right? And it doesn't mean that they're not fantastic players, but it does mean that that communication and that drive that comes from a leader is missing. And it's a massive problem, the loss of Henderson and the loss of Van Dijk. And what that means is that you saw it at times, Chelsea were able to pop it about really, really easily for me. Really, really easily. Let's talk about Chelsea just for a second, because I thought, look, Werner was fantastic. Unlucky not to get a goal tonight. Mount and his movement is just so intelligent. Ziyech not involved as much, but I think that's because the focus was down this left-hand side, as I've previously said. And I thought, I've got to say, the three of Christensen, Kante and Jorginho were absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Kante, I love him to bits. And I think, do you know what, with all that space that there was in that game, with that midfield, to have a midfield two really more than a midfield three like the opposition had, or maybe even a midfield four when Firmino's supposedly looking to drop back. The energy of those two was superb. And I tell you what, I'll have a look at the stats now. I might be wrong on this, but I thought Jorginho. Let's see how many interceptions he had in this game, because I swear to God, I thought he was great. I thought Jorginho was superb. Jorginho, there you go. He's got the most interceptions, 3. 5 tackles. Has he got the most tackles? 5 tackles. Brilliant. He does get dribbled past, which we know. But I thought he did really, really well on that left-hand side. There was quite a few crosses that I think he was able to get rid of as well. I thought he was absolutely brilliant for a player that, has taken a lot of criticism. I thought he was great. I thought Christensen was always there. That's what you want to see in a centre-back. You want him to be a bit of a magnet. And Kante was great as well. And I think those two as well, quite press-proof. And I thought they were fantastic. Chilwell coming in highlights that Tuchel's he is just about, he's all about those dubs. And look, he wants to get Alonso out of the team because he wants that little bit more pace for this game in particular, because these games, like I've said this before on this channel, these games are different, so different to the other games that you're going to play when teams sit back. And it was perfect from Tuchel. I thought he got it absolutely spot on. We've got ourselves a super chat. Liam Stormont, hello mate, hope you're well. Accept your use of the title, Jim. Also, I agree we should drop the line due to lack of pressing. By the way, Thiago's pressing numbers are up there for LFC. That's interesting. I think the thing with Thiago is, although he does press, it feels, if it's part of a machine and everything's in front of him, he is still going to be a world-class footballer for Liverpool, no doubt in my mind. But when he's got players to the side of him, he's not the same player. He is a player who'll be at that base and will be able to read it for me, or have someone who kind of does all that work for him. Not a luxury player, but he's not the focus of those presses. That's a problem for me. And I think the thing with the dropping of the line, I think it will help them, because if you've seen that with a team like Southampton, with Hasenhüttl, when they're playing well, they play very direct, very vertically in that formation. And so what they do a lot of the time is they go back almost to recycle it to be able to create that. And I think defensively, what you need, and the goal that comes to mind for me is, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it on here, but the goal it reminds me of is the West Ham goal recently. That West Ham goal, and look, granted it came from a corner, but I think if I'm right, the ball goes through a corner, it gets played to Trent quickly. Trent plays a massive pass to Shaqiri, and then Shaqiri plays a great pass to Salah. It's 3 balls and you're in. And I think on the other side of it, the fact that they've had 5 shots, I think it was, if we have a look at the stats quickly. I think it was 5 shots during the game. 5 shots in the second half. That's right. 5 shots in the second half, 2 shots in the first half, 1 shot on target in the entire game. You can't see it, can you? Sorry, guys. And in the entire game, take my word for it. For them to have 7 shots and 1 shot on target over that whole game, again, it's due to the fact that in that second half, Chelsea were able to play like those other teams that just sit back and chill, because I think the problem that we have in life is that, once you've seen things a few times, you start to be able to read them. And that's what's happening with Liverpool, is they're a little bit predictable. So if you're a little bit predictable and you're not going to be able to beat players in one-on-one sort of duels and things like that, you need space. You need a bit of space. And that's a leaf out of someone like Jose Mourinho's book. When they are devastating Spurs in terms of attacking, I'm talking about that specifically because I know Mourinho and Spurs are very frustrating to watch. But when they play like that, they cut through teams, and it's that age-old talking point of space versus possession. And at the moment, Liverpool have a lot of the possession, but it doesn't hurt the opposition. It doesn't hurt them at all. And that's something that needs to change. They have to change this. Nahal Kolkami, Salah should not be subbed. Mane deserved it more. I totally agree. I don't really understand why Salah was taken off. And there was a moment, I think it was Firmino, 85 minutes. Some great work down the left-hand side. Sort of did Kante and got to the byline, got the cross in. And I tell you what, you kind of needed Salah's selfishness there. I was actually thinking, God, I bet Liverpool would love a player like a Giroud or a Antonio or just an ugly brute centre forward who just wants to be in the penalty box and score goals, because I think they're missing that as well in a big way. But Salah, I think, might have been in that area for those kind of things. I'm amazed you take off someone like that in a game like that. But maybe he's trying to get Jota back in and give him some minutes. And earlier in the season, you would have seen that it was Salah, I think, who came off, and Jota came on in those moments. Man of the match for me. Let me know yours in the comments below. And as I said, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Let's get ourselves to 85k as soon as possible. Man of the match for me, I think it has to be, for me, it's Jorginho. It's between him, Christensen and Kante. I thought the three of them were fantastic. I think Werner deserves a bit of a shout, but I mean, finally he was almost like let off the leash to do what he was best at. But the next game that Chelsea play, which I don't know who it's against, but I'm sure it won't be a similar game to this where they'll have that same amount of space to play in. So for me, I think Jorginho, with the kind of pressure that he's under in the midfield too, did superb. And I thought he was fantastic. For in terms of the expectations or what you want from a player, Kante kind of did what I would want him to do in a big game like that, and I would give him an 8 out of 10. But Christensen, you knew there was going to be pressure on him. Would he bend? No, I thought he was great. He gets a 9 out of 10. And then Jorginho, in terms of his pass completion, I'm sure was pretty high. I thought he kept the ball pretty well, but also defensively without the ball. Maybe just as a midfielder myself, I was looking at that. But you don't expect that from Jorginho, and I thought he did brilliantly. So he's my man of the match. But let me know yours in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I know it's late, although it won't be late when you watch this at another time. Who cares? Mason Mount was great. I love his movement. I think when we're looking at England, the fact that he can play in so many different positions is going to be huge for us, and he showcased it again with a good finish. I wish he wouldn't stick his tongue out when he celebrated, though. Not on that TikTok thing. Anyway. Right, guys, Everton's... Oh, yeah, of course, Everton next game for Chelsea. Let me know what you think. Does Klopp need to change his principles here? He's about the gegenpress. Of course he is. But does he need to tweak it just for the rest of this season, just to get themselves over the line? That's it from me. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching it, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for subscribing. And